The clock read exactly 2:30 p.m. when Victor Blackwood, one of the country's most influential businessmen, parked his Porsche in the garage of his mansion. He wasn't supposed to be there at that time. His staff knew that on Tuesdays, he only returned after 7 p.m., following his meetings with international investors. But today, something had made him change his plans. An inexplicable restlessness had been tormenting him since morning, as if an invisible force were pulling him home. As he entered silently through the side door, Victor heard voices coming from the library. His heart quickened. His daughter Elisa, only 8 years old, was supposed to be at her piano lesson right now. He approached with light steps, ready to confront any intruder when the scene he saw through the ajar door froze his blood. Elisa was kneeling on the imported Persian rug, her hands clasped, next to Anna Miller, the newly hired cleaner. Both had their eyes closed, and Anna was leading a prayer with a soft voice that seemed to cradle the girl's soul. "And so, dear God, please watch over Elisa's daddy, who works so hard. Watch over her mommy in heaven, who must be looking down on her now. And help little Elisa to be strong, even when she's sad." Victor felt a lump in his throat. Since the death of his wife, Helena, 2 years ago, Elisa had closed herself off in a world of silence. The best child psychologists in the country hadn't been able to get her to express her feelings. And now, there she was, with tears streaming down her delicate face, tightly holding the cleaner's calloused hand. "Anna, is Mommy really listening to me?" Elisa's voice, almost a whisper, made Victor's heart ache. It had been months since he'd heard his daughter speak with such emotion. Anna, a woman of 35 with simple features but a profoundly kind gaze, stroked the girl's hair. "Of course she is, my angel. The people we love never truly leave us. They're kept safe right here." She pointed to Elisa's chest. "How do you know?" the girl asked, wiping away her tears. "Because I also lost someone I loved very much, my own mommy, and every day I feel her close to me, giving me strength." Victor took a few steps back, stunned. His mind was a whirlwind of conflicting thoughts. On one hand, he was deeply touched to see his daughter finally opening up. On the other, an irrational anger began to build. Who was this woman to assume such an intimate role in Elisa's life? What right did she have to speak about matters as delicate as Helena's death? What Victor didn't know was that, on the other side of the hallway, Christine, the housekeeper and Victor's right hand for over 10 years, was watching the scene with eyes full of hatred. Christine, who had always dreamed of being more than an employee in the widower's life, saw Anna as a threat to the empire she had been patiently building. "This insignificant cleaner isn't going to ruin my plans," Christine thought, her mind already devising a cruel scheme to eliminate her rival. If she thinks she's going to win the boss's heart through the girl, she's sorely mistaken. Inside the library, oblivious to the storms gathering around her, Anna continued her conversation with Elisa. She wasn't there to win anyone over. Her pure heart was simply responding to the silent suffering of a child who, despite all her wealth, lacked the most important thing, someone to truly listen to her. "You know, Elisa, sometimes wealthy people forget the most important things in life," Anna said, unaware that her words were being heard by the millionaire himself. "They think they can buy everything, even happiness, but true wealth is in here, in the heart." Elisa looked at Anna with eyes shining with admiration. "You're the richest person I know, Anna." That simple sentence from the mouth of a child was like a punch to the gut for Victor. In an instant, all his achievements, his millions, his luxury cars, and international trips seemed empty and meaningless. What good was it to be the most powerful man in the city if he couldn't even make his own daughter smile? Victor retreated silently, deciding not to interrupt the moment. He needed to process what he had just witnessed. He returned to his car and drove aimlessly through the city streets, his mind a turmoil of conflicting emotions. Meanwhile, in the mansion, Anna and Elisa continued their conversation, unaware of the drama unfolding. The girl, for the first time in a long time, felt safe enough to talk about her mother. Daddy never talks about Mommy. When I ask, his eyes get watery and he changes the subject, Elisa confessed, fiddling with the bracelet on her wrist, her mother's last gift. Anna sighed, choosing her words carefully. Sometimes, when we love someone very much and we lose them, it hurts so much that we prefer not to talk about it. It's not because your father doesn't want to remember your mom. It's because he misses her so much. Outside the library, Christine heard everything, her face twisted in a sneer. Who does this cleaner think she is? A psychologist? A spiritual advisor? She thought, gripping the cleaning cloth in her hands. 2 years trying to get close to the brat to get to Victor, and this little woman accomplishes in 2 weeks what I couldn't in years. Christine was the daughter of a former maid for the Blackwood family. She had grown up observing the luxury and opulence of that world, dreaming of one day being a part of it. When Helena died, she saw her great opportunity. She grew closer to Victor, making herself indispensable. She managed the house with ruthless efficiency, knew his preferences, his schedule, his secrets. She was just waiting for the right moment to turn professional admiration into something more intimate. And now, this intruder threatened everything. In the library, Anna glanced at the clock and quickly stood up. "Oh, Elisa, it's almost 3 o'clock. Your piano teacher will be here soon, and I still have to clean your father's office." "Don't go, Anna," Elisa pleaded, clinging to the cleaner's simple skirt. "Stay a little longer." Anna's heart melted at those pleading eyes, but she knew her place. "I can't, sweetie. If I don't finish my work, I could lose my job, and I really need it." "Why?" Elisa asked, curious. Anna hesitated for a moment but decided to be honest. "Because I have a sick son at home. Michael is the same age as you, but he was born with a heart problem. I need to buy expensive medicine for him." Elisa's eyes widened. "Is he going to die like Mommy?" Anna felt a tightness in her chest. "No, my angel, he needs an operation, but he's going to be okay, I promise." She tried to sound confident, though the truth was much more complicated. The doctors had given him only a 50% chance of success, and the surgery cost a fortune she could never earn with her cleaner's salary. What Anna didn't know was that Christine had overheard the entire conversation, and a malicious smile formed on her lips. "So the little saint has a sick son. Interesting, very interesting." That night, when Victor finally returned home, he found Elisa already asleep. He stood at her bedroom door, watching her serene little face. For the first time in a long time, she looked at peace. "Mr. Blackwood, may I have a word with you?" Christine's voice interrupted his thoughts. "Of course, Christine. Is there a problem?" The housekeeper adjusted her posture, assuming an expression of professional concern. "Actually, yes, it's about the new cleaner, Anna. I found her in the library with Elisa today, discussing inappropriate subjects." Victor felt his body tense. He knew exactly what Christine had found, but he decided not to reveal that he had also witnessed the scene. "What kind of subjects?" he asked, keeping his voice neutral. "Religion, death." She was practically indoctrinating the child. Christine exaggerated, watching her boss's reaction closely. "And more worryingly, sir, she mentioned to Elisa that she has a sick son who needs a very expensive surgery." "And what's the problem with that?" Victor frowned, not understanding where Christine was going with this. The housekeeper lowered her voice, as if sharing a secret. "Don't you see, sir? It's a classic tactic to arouse pity and get money. First, she gains the child's trust. Then she manipulates the father." Victor felt a pang of irritation. "Christine, I think you're overreacting. Anna seems like a good person." "They all seem like good people, sir." Christine smiled with false sweetness. "Remember that nanny we hired last year? She seemed wonderful too, until we discovered she was stealing your gold cufflinks." That hit Victor hard. He had a history of trusting the wrong people, in business and in his personal life. His analytical, business-minded brain began to calculate the risks. "I'll watch her more closely," he finally decided. "A wise decision, sir." Christine smiled, satisfied with the seed of doubt she had planted. "I'm only concerned for Elisa's well-being. You know how fragile she's been since she lost her mother." When Christine left, Victor remained in the hallway, torn between what his heart had felt, seeing his daughter finally open up, and the doubts Christine had now planted in his mind. Was Anna truly sincere, or was she using his daughter for some kind of emotional scam? The next morning, Anna arrived at the Blackwood mansion at 7 a.m. sharp, as always. Her face showed signs of fatigue. She had spent a sleepless night by her son's side, who had suffered a respiratory crisis. But despite the exhaustion, she wore the serene smile that never seemed to leave her. "Good morning, Christine," she greeted the housekeeper, who was waiting for her at the service entrance with a stern expression. "Anna, Mr. Blackwood wants to see you in his office." Now, Christine's tone carried a barely concealed satisfaction. Anna's heart raced. In 2 weeks of work, she had never spoken directly with her boss. Had she done something wrong? Was she going to be fired? The thought terrified her. This job was her last hope of saving money for Michael's treatment. Christine led Anna to the imposing solid wood door of the office, knocked twice, and announced, "The cleaner is here, Mr. Blackwood." "Send her in," a deep voice replied from the other side. Anna entered the office with hesitant steps. The room was impressive, with floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, a carved mahogany desk, and a panoramic view of the mansion's gardens. Victor was standing, looking out the window, his back to her. "Close the door, please," he said, without turning around. Anna obeyed, feeling her legs tremble. Victor finally turned to face her. He was an imposing man in his 40s, with graying temples that gave him an air of authority. His eyes, however, carried a sadness that not all the money in the world seemed able to cure. "Anna, correct?" he asked, though he knew her name perfectly well. "Yes, sir. I understand you were with my daughter in the library yesterday." Anna felt her blood run cold. "I'm sorry, sir. I was cleaning the shelves when the girl came in. She seemed so sad. I didn't mean to be intrusive, but you spoke to her about her mother." Victor's voice was controlled, but there was an underlying tension. Anna took a deep breath, deciding honesty was her only path. "Yes, sir. Elisa asked me if I thought her mother could hear her from where she was. I lost my own mother when I was very young. I know how important it is for a child to maintain that connection." Victor studied her for a long moment, as if trying to read her soul. "And you also spoke about your sick son." Anna turned pale. How did he know that? "Yes, sir. Elisa asked why I needed the job so badly. I didn't want to lie to her." "I see." Victor walked slowly to his chair and sat down, gesturing for Anna to do the same in the chair opposite him. "What exactly is wrong with your son?" Anna hesitated, surprised by the question. She didn't expect the millionaire boss to be interested in her personal life. "Michael was born with a congenital heart defect. He needs surgery to correct a faulty valve." "And how much does this surgery cost?" Anna lowered her eyes. $250,000, sir. The public health program could cover it. But the waiting list is years long. The doctors say Michael doesn't have that much time." Victor nodded slowly, his face an impenetrable mask. "Anna, I'll be direct. I don't like employees discussing personal matters with my daughter, especially sensitive topics like death and religion." Anna's heart sank. "I understand, sir. It won't happen again. However," Victor continued, "I can't ignore the fact that, for the first time in 2 years, I saw my daughter speak openly about her feelings." He paused, as if the next words were difficult to say. "Helena, my wife, died of a brain aneurysm. It was sudden. Elisa was with her when it happened." Anna brought a hand to her mouth, horrified. "My God, how terrible for a child. Since then, Elisa has shut down. She stopped talking about her mother, stopped showing emotions. The psychologists call it unprocessed trauma. Victor's voice cracked slightly. And yesterday, for the first time, I saw her cry for her mother, thanks to you. Anna didn't know what to say. She could feel the conflict in the man before her, a mixture of gratitude and suspicion. Therefore, he continued, I'm prepared to make a deal with you. A deal, sir. Yes, I want to hire you to spend 2 hours a day with Elisa, in addition to your regular work, as a kind of companion, someone she can talk to freely. Anna blinked, stunned. But I'm not qualified for that, sir. I'm not a psychologist or a teacher. You have something more valuable. Her trust. Victor leaned forward. In return, I'm willing to pay for your son's surgery. The world seemed to stop for Anna. She felt tears well up in her eyes before she could stop them. You would do that. Consider it an investment in my daughter's well-being. Victor maintained his businesslike tone, but his eyes had softened. I have only one condition. No one can know about this arrangement. For all intents and purposes, you remain just the cleaner. Anna nodded, still in shock. Of course, oh, sir. Whatever you say. What neither of them realized was that Christine was just outside the door, listening to every word. Her face was twisted into a mask of pure hatred. Her plan to sow distrust had failed miserably. Worse, now this insignificant cleaner had privileged access not only to Elisa, but also to Victor. This isn't over, she muttered to herself, slipping away silently before the door opened. You don't know who you're dealing with, Anna. No one takes what's mine. That same afternoon, while Anna was tidying Elisa's room, the girl ran in, a sparkle in her eyes that wasn't there before. Anna, Daddy said you're going to be my special friend now, that we can talk every day. Anna smiled, placing a finger on her lips. It's our little secret, remember? To everyone else, I'm still just the lady who cleans the house. Elisa nodded. A co-conspirator. Can I show you Mommy's pictures? Daddy keeps them all in a box in his closet. He doesn't know that I know where it is. Of course you can, sweetie. Anna sat on the edge of the bed as the girl ran to fetch the hidden treasure. What Anna didn't imagine was that this simple conversation would be the spark for a storm that would threaten not only her job, but her very life and that of her son. 3 weeks had passed since the arrangement between Anna and Victor. The change in Elisa was visible to everyone in the house. The girl was smiling again, talking more, and had even started playing the piano again, something she had given up after the death of her mother, who had been a pianist. For Victor, each small step forward was like a miracle. He watched the interactions between Anna and his daughter from a distance, deliberately keeping away so as not to interfere. But his heart warmed whenever he heard Elisa's laughter echoing through the mansion's corridors again. As for Anna, she lived between two worlds. During the day, she cleaned the Blackwood mansion and spent her special hours with Elisa. At night, she rushed to the hospital where Michael was admitted, awaiting the surgery that, thanks to Victor, was now scheduled for a month from now. How's your son? Elisa asked one afternoon, as they were making flower crowns in the garden. Better, thank God and your father, Anna answered sincerely. The doctors say he has a great chance of making a full recovery after the surgery. Elisa smiled, placing the flower crown on Anna's head. When he gets better, can I meet him? I've always wanted a brother. Anna felt a pang in her chest. Elisa's innocence touched her deeply. Of course you can, sweetie. I'm sure Michael would love to meet you. What neither of them noticed was Christine standing behind a pillar, photographing the moment with her cell phone. Her plan was in motion. That night, when Victor returned from a business trip, Christine was waiting for him in his office with a grave expression. Mr. Blackwood, forgive my intrusion, but as someone who cares about this family, I can no longer remain silent. Victor sighed, tired from his trip. What is it now, Christine? The housekeeper slid her cell phone across the desk. See for yourself. On the screen was the photo of Anna and Elisa in the garden, the girl placing a flower crown on the cleaner's head. An innocent scene. But Christine knew how to spin the narrative. "She's replacing Mrs. Helena in the girl's life," she said, her voice heavy with false concern. "Elisa called her Mommy yesterday when she thought no one was listening. It was a blatant lie, but Christine was betting on Victor's insecurity." "That's ridiculous," he replied, handing back the phone. "Anna is just helping Elisa process her grief. It's healthy for them to have a close relationship." Christine hadn't expected this reaction. She needed something more damning. "Sir, there's something else I need to show you." She slid an envelope across the desk. "I had this woman's background investigated. What I found is disturbing." Victor hesitated before picking up the envelope. Part of him didn't want to feed this suspicion, but years in business had taught him to always verify the facts. Inside the envelope was a newspaper clipping from 5 years ago. The headline read, "Nurse accused of stealing medication fired from hospital." "The nurse in question is Anna Miller, the same one working in your home," Christine explained, watching her boss's reaction intently. "She never mentioned she was a nurse, did she? And why would a qualified professional be working as a cleaner?" Victor's blood ran cold. Anna had never mentioned her past as a nurse. Why would she hide that? What if the story about the sick son was just an elaborate lie to get money? "There's more," Christine continued, sensing she was gaining ground. "I spoke to some people in the neighborhood where she lives. No one has ever seen this supposed sick son. She lives alone." That was like a punch to the gut for Victor. The possibility of being deceived, of having trusted the wrong person again, made him furious. "Thank you for bringing this to my attention, Christine. I will handle the situation." As soon as the housekeeper left, Victor picked up the phone and called his private investigator. He needed the truth, the whole truth, about Anna Miller. The next day, Anna noticed immediately that something had changed. Victor, who in recent weeks had started greeting her with a discreet smile, could now barely look her in the eye. Elisa, on the other hand, was more attached than ever. "Anna, look what I made for Michael." The girl held up a colorful drawing of 2 stick figures, a boy and a girl, holding hands under a smiling sun. "It's me and him, best friends." Anna hugged Elisa, moved. "He's going to love it, sweetie. I'll take it to him tonight." "Can I come with you, please, please?" Elisa bounced with excitement. "I don't know if your father would allow it." "Elisa? If I would allow what?" Victor's deep voice sounded behind them, making Anna jump. "Daddy!" Elisa ran to hug him. "I want to visit Michael in the hospital. I made him a drawing." Victor looked coldly at Anna. "Michael is Anna's son, right? The one who's hospitalized waiting for heart surgery?" There was something in his tone that made Anna shudder. "Yes, sir." "Interesting." Victor knelt to be at his daughter's level. "Sweetheart, I need to speak with Anna privately. Why don't you go practice that new song on the piano?" As soon as Elisa left, Victor's expression hardened. "In my office. Now." Anna followed him, her heart pounding. What had happened? Had she made some mistake? When the office door closed, Victor threw the newspaper clipping Christine had given him onto the desk. "Care to explain this?" Anna picked up the clipping with trembling hands. When she saw the headline, all the color drained from her face. That nightmare, which she thought she had left behind, was coming back to haunt her just when she was finally seeing a light at the end of the tunnel. "Mr. Blackwood, I can explain." Her voice was almost a whisper. "I'm listening." He crossed his arms, his gaze as hard as granite. "And I hope, for my daughter's sake, it's a very convincing explanation." Anna took a deep breath, gathering her courage. "Yes, I was a nurse for 7 years. I worked in the pediatric ward at St. Clair's Hospital. It was my calling, my passion." Her eyes filled with tears. "Until Michael was born with his heart condition, I was a single mother. His father left us when he found out about the baby's condition." She paused, struggling to maintain her composure. "The treatments were expensive, even on a nurse's salary. One day, one of the terminal pediatric patients didn't use all of his prescribed medication. It was going to be thrown away." Her voice broke. "I took it for Michael. It was wrong, I know, but it was a drug that cost almost half my salary, and my son desperately needed it." Victor remained impassive, though something inside him began to waver. "I was caught on the security cameras," Anna continued. "I lost my job, my nursing license, and almost lost custody of my son. Since then, I've worked menial jobs, trying to save money for his surgery." She wiped away a tear. "I didn't mention my past as a nurse because I'm ashamed, sir. Not of what I did for my son, but of betraying the hospital's trust." Victor uncrossed his arms, his expression softening slightly. "And where is your son now? Christine says you live alone." Anna frowned, confused. "Christine was at my house. Michael has been admitted to Hope Hospital for 3 months. It's a public hospital on the outskirts of the city. I sleep there almost every night, in the chair next to his bed. I only come home to shower and change." Something in the sincerity of that answer touched Victor. He knew Hope Hospital well. His foundation made regular donations to the institution. "If you're telling the truth, you won't mind if I verify it myself." Anna stared at him, surprised. "You want to visit Michael tonight with Elisa, since she's so eager to meet him?" There was an implicit challenge in his words. If Anna were lying, this would be the moment she would try to talk him out of it. But to his surprise, her face lit up. "That would be wonderful, sir. Michael loves having visitors. He gets so lonely when I'm at work." Victor nodded, still cautious. "I'll be there at 7 p.m. Send me the room number." When Anna left the office, her legs could barely support her. On one hand, she was relieved to have the chance to prove her honesty. On the other, she was terrified of losing everything: the job, Michael's surgery, and the special connection she had formed with Elisa. What she didn't know was that Christine had heard the entire conversation through the door. The housekeeper bit her lip so hard it bled. Her plan was falling apart. She had to act fast. At 6:30 p.m., Victor and Elisa got into the limousine, the girl buzzing with excitement at the thought of finally meeting Michael. She held tightly to the drawing she had made, now in a beautiful silver frame. "Daddy, do you think Michael will like me?" she asked, a little insecure. Victor smiled, stroking his daughter's hair. "How could anyone not like you, princess?" Meanwhile, at Hope Hospital, Anna was frantically tidying up the small, shared room where Michael was. She had brought flowers, combed the boy's hair, and dressed him in the nicest T-shirt he had. "Mommy, why are you so nervous?" Michael asked, watching her with his big brown eyes, so much like hers. Despite his illness, he had a constant smile that melted the hearts of all the nurses. "Because today you're going to meet some very special people, honey. Elisa, the girl I told you about, and her father, who's my boss. The rich man who's going to pay for my surgery." Michael's eyes lit up. "And I'll get to thank him in person." Anna smiled, moved. "Yes, my love, but remember what we talked about. We can't talk about that. It's our secret." What Anna didn't know was that, at that very moment, Christine was executing the final part of her desperate plan. She had arrived at the hospital minutes earlier, wearing a simple disguise, dark glasses and a scarf over her head. She located Michael's room easily, thanks to the address she had seen on Anna's phone. When she found a moment when Anna had stepped out to get water, Christine slipped into the room. "Hi, Michael," she said with false sweetness. "I'm a friend of your mom's." The boy, innocent and used to seeing new faces at the hospital, smiled. "Hi, Mommy went to get water. She'll be right back." "I know, sweetie. I just came to bring you a little present." Christine took a small vial from her purse. "It's a special syrup that will make you feel much better for your important visitors today." Michael frowned. "But the nurse already gave me all my medicine. This one is different. It's a secret between us, okay?" Christine brought the vial to the boy's lips. "Just a little sip. It'll make you a little sleepy, but when you wake up, you'll feel great to meet Elisa." The familiar name convinced Michael, who accepted the liquid without further questions. It was just a mild sedative, but enough to make the boy fall into a deep sleep in the next few minutes, exactly when Victor and Elisa would arrive. Christine left quickly, a malicious smile on her lips. Her plan was simple. When Victor arrived and found the boy unconscious, Anna would panic. In the confusion, Christine would discover that the boy had been sedated and would insinuate that Anna was drugging her own son to keep him in the hospital and extract money from compassionate people. It was cruel. It was low, but Christine was desperate. She would not let a simple cleaner ruin her years of planning. At 7 p.m. sharp, Victor's limousine pulled up in front of Hope Hospital. The contrast between the luxury vehicle and the worn-down public hospital building could not have been starker. Elisa clutched the framed picture to her chest, anxious and a little nervous. "What if he doesn't like my drawing, Daddy?" Victor smiled, trying to hide his own apprehension. "I'm sure he'll love it, Princess." Meanwhile, in room 307, Anna returned with a pitcher of fresh water and found Michael strangely drowsy. "Michael? Honey, are you okay?" She touched his forehead, worried. There was no fever, but his eyes were heavy, struggling to stay open. "Mommy, the friend. Medicine," he mumbled, before his eyelids gave way completely. "What friend? What medicine?" Anna panicked, checking her son's vital signs. His breathing was normal, his pulse steady, but he wasn't responding to her. "Michael, wake up!" Just then, a nurse entered the room. "Anna, there are people asking for you at the reception, a man and a very well-dressed little girl." Anna's blood ran cold. Victor and Elisa had arrived, and Michael was inexplicably unconscious. "My God! Call a doctor! Quickly! Something is wrong with my son!" The nurse ran to get help, while Anna desperately tried to wake Michael. What was happening? He had been fine just minutes ago. In the hallway, Victor and Elisa were being led by a receptionist to room 307. The girl was skipping with excitement, but Victor remained cautious. Part of him still suspected this could all be an elaborate sham. As they turned the corner, they saw the commotion, doctors and nurses rushing into what was supposed to be Michael's room. Victor's heart raced. Something was wrong. "Wait here," the receptionist said, hurrying to see what was happening. "Daddy, what's going on?" Elisa grabbed her father's hand, scared. Before Victor could answer, they heard Anna's desperate voice from the room. "Please save my son. He was fine minutes ago." At that exact moment, as if she had timed her entrance, Christine appeared in the hallway, feigning surprise at seeing Victor and Elisa. "Mr. Blackwood, what are you doing here?" She approached, playing the part of the concerned housekeeper perfectly. "Christine, what are you doing here?" Victor frowned, genuinely confused. The housekeeper lowered her eyes as if embarrassed. "Forgive me, sir. After our conversation, I was so worried. I thought I should check Anna's story for myself before you came. To protect you." Before Victor could question her further, a doctor rushed out of the room and addressed a nurse. "Call security and the police. The boy has been sedated with something that's not on his chart." Christine's eyes gleamed with disguised malice. "My goodness. Do you think—" She let the insinuation hang in the air. Victor, however, wasn't looking at Christine. His eyes were fixed on Anna, who had stumbled into the hallway, her face washed in tears, completely devastated. "Anna!" Elisa let go of her father's hand and ran to the cleaner, hugging her around the waist. "What happened to Michael?" Anna could barely speak. "I don't know, sweetie. He was fine, and suddenly he mentioned something about a friend and some medicine, but—" "A friend!" Victor interrupted, his businessman's instinct alert to important details. "What friend?" "I don't know," Anna sobbed. "I was gone for 5 minutes to get water. When I came back, he was like this." Christine stepped forward, ready to spread more poison. "Mr. Blackwood, perhaps we should take Elisa home. This environment is not suitable for a child." But Victor wasn't listening. Something in Anna's genuinely devastated expression convinced him that she was not faking. No one could simulate that level of despair. "Doctor!" Victor called out, addressing the physician leaving the room. "I'm Victor Blackwood. What's happening with the boy?" The doctor, recognizing the name of one of the hospital's biggest donors, stopped immediately. "Mr. Blackwood!" "The boy was sedated with something we didn't prescribe. We're running tests to identify the substance, but he's stable. It appears to be just a mild sedative." "A sedative?" Anna exclaimed, confused. "Who would give my son a sedative?" It was then that Elisa, with the innocence and perception that only children possess, pointed at Christine. "She was here before. I saw her leaving that room when we were arriving." All eyes turned to the housekeeper, who turned visibly pale. "What are you talking about, Elisa?" Victor knelt to be at his daughter's level. "When we were coming down the hall, I saw Christine coming out of that room. She didn't see me because she was looking behind her, like she was afraid someone would see her." Christine forced a nervous laugh. "How absurd! The imagination of children! I just arrived. How could I—" "No, Daddy, I'm sure," Elisa insisted. "It was her. She was wearing sunglasses and a scarf on her head, but I recognized her perfume. It's the same one she wears every day at home." Victor rose slowly, staring at Christine with a look that made her take a step back. "Christine, empty your pockets. Now, Mr. Blackwood, this is an outrage. You're going to believe a child over me who has served your family faithfully for years. Empty your pockets." Victor's voice left no room for argument. With trembling hands, Christine began to pull items from her pockets, keys, a phone, a wallet. But when she reached the inner pocket of her coat, she hesitated. "Christine." Victor's tone was menacing. Defeated, she pulled out a small, empty vial. The doctor took it immediately, sniffed the residue, and confirmed, "It's a sedative, the same one we detected in the boy." Anna's face contorted in fury and pain. You did this to my son. Why? What did Michael ever do to you?" Christine, seeing she was cornered, let her mask of the dedicated servant fall away. Her eyes flashed with hatred. "Him? He did nothing to me. You're the problem. You and your fake kindness, winning Elisa's trust, making Victor look at you like you're some kind of saint." "Security," the doctor called, alarmed by the woman's outburst. 10 years!" Christine screamed as 2 security guards approached. "Oh, 10 years dedicating my life to this family, patiently waiting for Victor to get over his grief, to see the dedicated woman by his side. And then you show up with your sob story and your sick son, and in a few weeks you get what I couldn't in years." The guards grabbed Christine by the arms, but she continued to yell, having lost all control. "You think he cares about you, or your pathetic son? He's just using you to ease the guilt he feels for being an absent father. When this little drama gets boring, he'll toss you aside just like he does with everyone else." "Get her out of here," Victor ordered, placing himself protectively in front of Elisa, who watched the scene with wide, frightened eyes. As the guards dragged Christine away, she hurled one last threat. "This isn't over. You'll regret this." A heavy silence fell over the hallway. Anna was trembling, torn between the shock of the revelation and her worry for Michael. Victor seemed equally shaken, processing the betrayal of someone he had trusted for so many years. It was Elisa who broke the silence, tugging on Anna's hand. "Michael is going to be okay, right?" The innocent question brought everyone back to reality. The doctor, who had watched the entire scene in stunned silence, replied, "Yes, little one. It was just a mild sedative. He should wake up in a few hours with no side effects." Anna let out a sigh of relief, tears still streaming down her face. "Thank God." "I'm calling the police," Victor said, his face a mask of controlled fury. What Christine did was attempted murder. "No!" Anna exclaimed, surprising everyone. "Please, don't. We've had enough turmoil. Michael will be fine. That's what matters." Victor stared at her, perplexed. "Anna, she drugged your son." "It could have been much worse." "I know." Anna wiped her tears. And believe me, part of me wants to see her pay for this. But another part understands the desperation that drives someone to do terrible things. She looked at the floor, remembering her own mistake years ago. Sometimes, good people do bad things when they're desperate. Victor felt something shift inside him. The woman before him, who had just seen her son drugged by an envious rival, could still find compassion in her heart. It was a strength of character he had rarely witnessed in his life, surrounded by self-serving people. "You are an extraordinary woman, Anna Miller," he said, with an admiration he didn't try to hide. Anna blushed slightly, looking away. "I'm not, sir. I'm just a mother who would do anything for her son." "Can I see Michael now?" Elisa asked, still holding the framed picture. "He's sleeping, sweetie," Anna explained gently, "but we can leave your present for him for when he wakes up." Elisa nodded, handing the picture to Anna. "Tell him I'll be back tomorrow, okay? I promise I'll be really quiet so I don't wake him." Anna smiled through her tears, touched by the girl's sensitivity. "I'll tell him, sweetie." Victor placed a hand on his daughter's shoulder. "Let's go home now, princess. Anna needs to be with Michael." To everyone's surprise, Elisa shook her head firmly. "No, Daddy. Anna needs us right now. When I get sick, you always stay with me. Remember, Michael needs his mommy, but Anna needs someone too." Victor felt his heart swell with pride. His daughter, at only 8 years old, was showing an empathy that many adults would never achieve. "You're right, princess." He turned to Anna. "If you don't mind, we'd like to stay. At least until we're sure Michael is okay." Anna couldn't hold back the tears. "Thank you," was all she could manage to say. The next few hours passed in a silent vigil. Victor arranged for coffee and snacks for everyone, using his influence to ensure Michael received constant medical attention. Elisa fell asleep in an armchair, while Anna remained by her son's bedside, holding his hand. Victor watched the scene, feeling strangely at peace despite the tumultuous events. There was something in the simplicity of that motherly love that touched him deeply, something that reminded him of Helena and the unconditional love she had for Elisa. Around 11 p.m., Michael finally began to stir. His little eyes opened slowly. Confused. "Mommy!" he called in a weak voice. "I'm here, my love." Anna kissed his forehead, tears of relief streaming down her face. "Everything is okay now." Michael looked around, noticing Victor standing near the door. "Oh, who's he, Mommy?" Anna smiled. "Remember the man I told you about, Elisa's father? That's him." Michael's eyes widened. Even in his sleepy state, he recognized the importance of the moment. "The man who's going to pay for my surgery?" Anna blushed, embarrassed. "Michael, we agreed that—" But Victor approached the bed, smiling. "Yes, that's me. But I want you to know, I'm not doing you a favor. I'm repaying something far more valuable that your mother gave to my family." "What?" Michael asked, curious. "Hope." Victor looked at Anna, and something passed between them. A silent understanding, a connection that transcended words. "Your mother brought hope back into our home." At that moment, Elisa woke up, rubbing her sleepy eyes. Seeing that Michael was awake, she jumped from the armchair and ran to the bed. "Michael, you're awake. I'm Elisa. I made you a drawing. Look." She pointed to the frame that Anna had placed on the bedside table. Michael smiled, still weak but visibly excited by his new friend. "It's really nice. Thank you." While the children talked, Victor gently pulled Anna to a corner of the room. "Anna, about Christine—" "Please, Mr. Blackwood, I don't want to talk about her right now." "I understand, but I need you to know she will be fired immediately. And while I respect your wish not to involve the police, I insist she sign a confession and a restraining order. I will not allow her to come near you or Michael again." Anna nodded, grateful. "Thank you." Victor hesitated, as if he wanted to say more but found it difficult to find the words. "Anna, when all this is over, when Michael has recovered from the surgery, I'd like you to consider a proposal." "What proposal, sir?" "Not as a cleaner, nor as Elisa's companion," He took a deep breath. I'd like you to consider going back to work as a nurse in the pediatric wing of the private clinic I'm building. Anna blinked, stunned. But my license. I can't practice. I've had my lawyers working on it since our conversation this morning. The circumstances of your case, combined with your previously impeccable record and the time that has passed, make a review possible, especially with the testimony of someone with my influence. Anna covered her mouth with her hands, unable to believe what she was hearing. Why? Why would you do this for me? Victor looked at Elisa and Michael, who were chatting excitedly like old friends. Because you reminded me of something I had forgotten. Anna, that there are things money can't buy. Integrity, compassion, forgiveness. He looked back at her. You could have destroyed Christine today, and you would have been right to, but you chose compassion. That's the kind of person I want caring for sick children. Tears were now streaming freely down Anna's face. I don't know what to say. Say you'll think about it. Victor smiled, and for the first time in a long time, the smile reached his eyes. And that, in the meantime, you'll continue to help my daughter find her way back to her own heart. Because thanks to you, Anna, it's not just Michael who is being saved. 3 months had passed since that fateful night at the hospital. Life at the Blackwood mansion had completely changed. Christine was long gone. After signing a detailed confession and a non-contact agreement, she had moved to another state, defeated and humiliated. Michael, too, for his part, had undergone his heart surgery successfully. The doctors, the best Victor's money could hire, were optimistic about his full recovery. The boy still needed care, but he was no longer confined to the hospital. Now, to the surprise of everyone who knew the rigid businessman, Michael and Anna were staying in the guest house on the Blackwood estate. It was Elisa's idea, Victor had explained when he proposed the arrangement. She said it would be easier for Michael to recover in a place with a garden and a pool, and that way you wouldn't have to travel every day for visits. Anna knew it was more than that. In recent weeks, something had shifted between her and Victor. It wasn't just gratitude or admiration, it was a deeper connection. A mutual understanding that grew with every conversation, every look they exchanged when the children weren't watching. On that Sunday morning, Anna watched from the guest house porch as Michael and Elisa played in the garden. Despite the recent scar on his chest, her son was running and laughing like he never could before. Elisa, in turn, had been transformed. The sad, quiet girl had given way to a vibrant, talkative child who never stopped making plans for when Michael was 100% better. They look like siblings, don't they? Victor's voice surprised her. He came closer, offering her a cup of coffee. Anna smiled, accepting the drink. Yes, it's amazing how well they got along from the very first moment. Children have a sixth sense for people. Elisa knew Michael was special before she even met him. Victor hesitated, as if carefully choosing his next words. Just as I knew you were special from the moment I saw you praying with my daughter. Anna blushed, lowering her eyes to her cup. She still wasn't used to these moments of intimacy that were becoming more frequent. Have you decided about my proposal? He asked, changing the subject slightly. The clinic will be ready in 2 months. The paperwork to restore your nursing license is almost finalized. Anna sighed. I still don't know, Victor. In recent weeks, they had dropped the formalities when they were alone. Part of me is eager to go back to doing what I love, but another part is afraid. Afraid of what? Of failing again, of not being good enough. She looked at Michael, who was now showing Elisa how to make a paper airplane, and also, I'm afraid of how it would change what we've built here. Victor followed her gaze, understanding the unspoken part of her words. Anna, what we've built here doesn't depend on you being my employee or not. She looked at him, surprised by his frankness. It doesn't. No. He placed his cup on the small table and turned to face her fully. In fact, maybe it's better this way. You working at the clinic, independently, Building your career again. Why? Victor smiled, that rare smile that completely transformed his serious face. Because it would be inappropriate for me to fall in love with an employee, but with a professional colleague, a partner. He left the sentence hanging, watching her reaction. Anna's heart raced. It was the first time either of them had verbalized what had been growing between them. Victor. Adi, you don't have to say anything right now, he interrupted gently. I know it's soon, that we both carry scars. You from abandonment, me from loss. I just want you to know that when you're ready, if you're ever ready, I'll be here. Anna felt tears in her eyes, but they were different from the many she had shed over the past few years. They were tears of possibility, of hope. Mommy, Mr. Victor, look what we found. Michael ran towards them, holding something in his hands, with Elisa right behind him. It's a baby bird, Elisa explained, breathless. It fell out of its nest. We have to help it. The adults came closer to examine the tiny bird, trembling in Michael's hands. It was a baby robin, still featherless in some spots, its eyes barely open. It will die if we don't help it, Michael said, his eyes pleading. We can take care of it, can't we? Anna looked at Victor, who nodded with a smile. Of course we can, she replied. We'll need a little box with some cotton to make a nest, and a syringe without a needle to feed it. I have a shoebox in my room, Elisa offered, already running towards the main house. And I'll get cotton from the bathroom, Michael added, carefully handing the bird to Anna. When the children had gone, Anna and Victor were left alone, with the tiny bird trembling between them. It looks like we have a new family member, Victor commented, watching how Anna gently stroked the fledgling's head with her fingertip. Family, Anna repeated, testing the word. It sounded good. It sounded right. Victor covered her hand with his, both of them now protecting the fragile creature. You know what impresses me most about you, Anna? Your ability to care, to find what's broken and fix it with love. I didn't just fix what was broken. Victor. She looked towards the main house, where Elisa was already running back with a shoebox. I was fixed, too. In that moment, under the Sunday sun, with an orphaned bird in their hands and two children running towards them, Anna knew she had found her place. Not as a cleaner, not as a nurse, but as part of something bigger. A family built not on blood, but on love, understanding, and forgiveness. And when, weeks later, the little robin took flight for the first time from the Blackwoods garden, Anna knew she was also ready to fly again, to accept Victor's proposal, both the professional and the personal one, to risk her heart again, because some lessons don't come from books or universities. They come from calloused hands that clean, that heal, that pray. They come from broken hearts that, even so, choose to love again. They come from a simple faith that sees beyond appearances and finds the divine in the most unexpected moments. Like that day when a millionaire showed up at the wrong time on purpose, and what he saw changed his life forever. And you, what would you do if you found someone teaching your child important values? Would you ignore it, or give that person a chance to show their true character? Can money really buy everything? Or are there treasures that only the heart can find? Tell me in the comments.